Hey, Shalom, Israel. And when I'm talking about Israel, I'm talking about the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives. This is the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Hanna. And since 1969, the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge has been teaching the so-called blacks, so-called Hispanics, and natives that they are the true Jews and Israelites that the Bible speaks of. with that being said, also we have a biblical culture and a biblical native tongue, which we have lost over the generations. And that's what this class is. So this is the Hebrew Lashawan Qadash class. And before I go ahead and get into the alphabet and some words that start with the letter H, I'm gonna go ahead and do some promos. Basically, we have the Lord's Passover next week in Atlanta, Georgia. On April 9th, it'll be the lamb slaughter from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Smith Family Ranch. On April 10th, we have the kids party at Urban Air from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Later on that day, we have General Muhammad's scripture breakdown class. It's at 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Atlanta Cosmopolitan Event Center. The next day, April 11th, we have the Hebrew Academy graduation ceremony from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. also at the Atlanta Cosmopolitan Event Center. Then we have the Black Party later on that day on April 11th at 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. at the Atrium. Then on April 12th, from 5 p.m. to 12 a.m., we have the Lord's 56th annual Passover. So if you are a so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native, I suggest, you look into our website on isupk.com and definitely see how you can go ahead and attend. So that way you can see exactly how the Lord wants us to come together and be for the Passover, which we're supposed to honor every year. So, just go to isupk.com. Definitely go ahead and get all your information there. And if you want to come down to Atlanta, we have all type of, we got a whole itinerary of stuff that we're going to do. It's a Passover fee. It's $200 for all the activities and for you to attend everything. It's for men, women, and children who are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native. So definitely go to isupk.com and definitely try to attend, because this is what the Lord wants us to do. He wants us to come together, especially on high holy days like this. With that being said, the tickets are $200 for the whole week of activities. Kids 17 and under, they do not pay. Anybody 18 and older, that will be $200 per person for man, woman, and young men and women. With that being said, I hope to see everybody out there in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to be out there. We're going to have fun. We always have a great time. There's brothers coming in from all over: Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Colombia, Dominican Republic, Brazil, Belize, Uruguay, the UK. We got brothers coming in from everywhere just because they want to attend this brotherly and sisterly function, which the Lord ordained us to go ahead and come together and attend. And I'm going to tell you the truth. My first time going to the Passover was 3 years ago. It was a glorious thing. I never seen so many brothers and sisters, come together and actually show each other so much love and honor towards each other. That's unnatural when it comes down to a so-called Black and Hispanic community, because we're so used to seeing each other at each other's necks that, 3 years ago when I went for the first time, all I seen was everybody just honoring each other. There was no slander, no disrespect, just everybody coming together and enjoying their time. And the only thing I can say is you will not understand it unless you go out there and actually try to attend, because once you attend, you're going to see how actually Black and Hispanic and Native Americans should be coming together in in unity, trying to do something better as a great culture of people that went astray and started doing other heathenistic things and customs. But I'm telling you, we definitely would love to see every so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American come and attend. If you could, if you're around the area, if you're around ATL, North Carolina, anywhere you're at, if you're on a reservation, I will highly recommend you come out to Lord's 56th annual Passover. All we're doing is hosting it. This is the Lord's Passover. So definitely, if you get a chance and you're around that area, definitely go to isupk.com, pay your Passover fee, come out with your family and see how we do things and see how glorious it is to see Black and brown come together and actually, you know, get along and have fun, crack jokes, and eat and drink together with no issues. It's a glorious thing. You just got to see it with your own eyes. Also, on isupk.com, you also have to pay your tithes. You know what I'm saying? So definitely go ahead and pay your tithes. And from that, we're going to go ahead and get into Lashawan Qadash. I'm priest and officer of 500, Azan Yala, out of Chicago. Here to help all Black, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives, you know, get back their cultural and ancient tongue, which is the ancient Hebrew and Assyrian Hebrew. The Bible is our biblical culture, our biblical history, and a lot of times we astray from it, but now we're starting to come back to it. With that being said, I'll go ahead and go over the alphabet. The first line up here will be the ancient Hebrew. Right here will be the Assyrian Hebrew. This is our ancient when our ancestors first started talking, and this is the Assyrian Hebrew when we started going into captivity. You know, stuff changes and gets how you say things change over time with captivities. You know, like we didn't always speak English. Like the Native Americans of the land never spoke English. But when they got beaten, and how you say, like, I don't want to say the words. When they got raped, robbed, and murdered in North America, you know, they had to learn the European language. When the Hispanics got conquered by Spain and the Spaniards, we had to grow accustomed to their language and their traditions because, you know, we lost that battle. And the reason why we lose these battles is because everything we do, we don't put forth the Lord first. You know, everything we do, say Most High in Christ, do it with the Lord first. Once you start honoring, you know, the Most High first, everything will come a little bit easier because He has to be with you first. You just can't do something just because I want to do it. A lot of times, you know, we got to do things and remember the Lord He has our best interest. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and go into the ancient Hebrew. I'm gonna go ahead and get out the way real quick. If you want to take a screenshot of this just for your own records in your phone, you definitely could. So that way you maybe could scribble it on your own a few times and see if you could get it. Just like I said, this is the ancient Hebrew in a printing form. There's the Assyrian Hebrew that is in the Tanakh. We have the Tanakh right here. The Tanakh is the Old Testament written in Assyrian Hebrew. So it's the complete Old Testament right here. It's called the Tanakh. With that being said, there's ancient Hebrew written in the printing form. There's Assyrian Hebrew written in printing form. And this right here is the Assyrian Hebrew right here. This is the same thing, except if you wrote it yourself with your own script. You know what I'm saying? So this is like a perfect printing form, but this will be a form how you would do it off your own scribble. So if you want, you go ahead and with that being said, let me get With that being said, so-called Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives, we're going to get into the Lashawan Qadash. This right here says La. This is Sha. Let me see. I'll go ahead and break it down right here, okay? This is La, right? La is right here. La. You see how it's written similar? So that's La. Sha. Sha. And whenever you got these connectors right here underneath, this sounds out the complete letter of the alphabet, which is like if I say this is La, right? You'll sound out the LA. If you got Sha right here and the connectors directly underneath, you look right here and you'll connect it with the SHA. So it's La, Sha, just like I said, La, Sha. And you see this connector connected from the Wa and the Na. This connects because you're going to keep the WA from the Wa. And from the Na, since it's connected, you're going to knock the A off, right, of the Na. So we're going to go ahead and work with the Wa. Wa is right here. Wa is right here. But since it's connected to Na, Na is right here. Boom. Right? And you see how we got an A at the end? You got to take off that A right there. So that's how you get this up here. La, La, Sha, Sha. And then since this connects, you got one. W-A-N, because you knocked off that A. Usually it'll say wana, but you knock off that A in the ancient Hebrew. So you got Lashawan Qadash. Qua's right here. So Qua. Then you got Da. You got Da right here. But you got a connector right there. So you connect this letter to this letter. So you got Da. Then you got Sha. You got Sha. You always take off the A, right? Because it's connected. So you got the Da and you got the Sha. But you just knock off the A at the end. Lashawan Qadash. That means the Bible's holy tongue. And that's basically what we're going to be going over today. So I'm going to go over the ancient Hebrew alphabet first. I hope everybody took a screenshot because that's real important. I mean, I know it's like learning Spanish and whatever other type of language that you rather use today. But if you learn the ancient Hebrew and the Assyrian Hebrew, you're just giving the Lord his power back. And I always say that whenever you speak in the biblical language, you're taking back what's yours and what the Lord had gave you. It's more powerful like that. Like we wish we still had our native tongues from our lands. Like Taino still wish they spoke Taino. Like ancient not ancient like Native Americans still wish they had their tongue of before they got oppressed. You know, stuff like that. So this goes further back, thousands of years. So this is the alphabet in the ancient Hebrew. You got A, however you want to describe it. It looks like A sideways. You got Ba, looks like a triangle type G. That's Ba. So, oh yeah, just before I go forward, if anybody's just tuning in and they really ain't tuned in before, in ancient biblical times, our answer is always read and written from right to left. So the way white people do it from left to right, in our ancient customs, we always did everything from right to left. With that being said, you got A, you got Ba, you got Ga, that looks like a 7, kind of slanted in a way. You got Da, looking like a triangle. Da. You got Ha, looking like a flip F with an extra line on it. So you got an F, boom, boom, and 2 lines. You got Wa. Wa looks like a Y form. All right. You got Za. Za in a Z form. You got Ka, C-H-A-A, looking like a 3-step ladder. You got Ta. Ta looks like a circle with an X in it. I mean, you can also, remember because, X-Men, they have like the same type of symbol. ta. You got ya. It looks like a slanted Z with a slight line that goes in the middle right here. You got ka. Ka's like a flip C or a mirrored C with a V on the inside. That would be ka. You have la. Just looks like an L. You know what I'm saying? Boom, boom. You got ma. Ma looks like a W at the top going into a Y form at the bottom. Then you got na. Na looks like a V form going into a Y form at the bottom. You got sa. Sa is a line going from top to bottom. Slightly from the top, you'll have like a Z formation and a line coming directly at the bottom. So it's got a little bit more definition on it. It's a little bit harder to write, but it's just a line going from top to bottom, a Z slightly from the top, and a line right underneath it. That'll be sa. Then you got I, which is a circle. If you look at a circle, you could think of your own personal eye. That would be I. You got pa. It looks like a J. It looked like a J, but you go ahead and write that line from left to right, and a little bit from the right, you make that J formation. That's how you write the biblical pa. You got taza, a line from top to bottom, and then slightly from the top, you go put a Z form. Boom, boom, boom. That'll be taza. You got qua. Qua, I could just say it looked like a mushroom or it looks like an umbrella. However you identify this figure, it looks like a dome at the top with a line coming from top to bottom of the dome. You got like a little mushroom top with a line coming directly from the top, boom, straight to the bottom. It's quick action right there. Especially if you're an artist, you know how to do this stuff real simple. You know, some people like to draw, some people don't. You know, kind of get real, put your own spin on it in the right form. Next is Ra. Ra is like you know how we always write fours? There's also a way to write a four in a different type of way. That's how I will describe Ra. Ra is a four that just connects. Got it? Or you could just look at Ra and you could look at it as like a flag, like you know how you go to like over here in Chicago, we got Wrigley Field, we got and we got the White Sox field. When you look at their banners and stuff, it'll be like in a flag form, which is like they'll have a flag post and then they'll have like a triangle similar to that. So it's like a flag form or a four. You got Sha, which is basically like a W. I mean, you could easily, you just gotta remember Sha is written like that. Then you got Tha. Tha is written in an X formation, line from top to bottom, straight down. But this, you know, instead of it touching, like in the English language where it touches the bottom line, you'll lift the one going from left to right. So you got one going down, boom. Then you got one a little bit higher than the other line. You know what I'm saying? Usually X will be boom, boom. This got a little bit more spin on it. With that being said, now this is just the ancient. Like I said, in the biblical Tanakh, in the ancient Assyrian language, when we're in captivity, this is the alphabet for that. This is the alphabet for that. Sloppy. This is the alphabet for that. So boom, this is Ah, because Ah, straight down, it'll look like that. It'll look like an N. Ba right here from the ancient is Ba right here. Ga, ga, da, da, ha, ha, wa, wa, za, za. So anybody who took a picture of this, definitely this is how you will go ahead and differentiate, you know, ancient, where you got the ancient letters right here, abaga, da, hawaza, all that, all going from right to left. This would be the ancient. And these letters directly below it That's the same thing. Ka, ta, ta, ya, ya, ka. So hopefully everybody understands that. I simplify that as much as I can, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to I'll start from the beginning again. Ah, this is how we spelled it in the captivity under Assyrians. So ah, ba, ga, da. So I'll go ahead and explain it. Like ah kind of looks like an N. Just to go ahead and help everybody out. Ah kind of looks like an N formation. You know, it's way different than how it's written in the ancient. You know, things change over time amongst captivities of other nations. And that's just how everything always happens. But they still kept their language just in a different dialect and all that stuff. You know? So ah is like an N formation. You got this one right here that looks kind of like a 7 with a line at the bottom. That'll be ba. You got ga. It kind of looks like a female's high heel. It's like a little boom and then like a little heel at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Then you got a da. Da looks like a 7. Then you see how it's written right here. Ha, the next letter, is written similar with that, but then you got the little strike right here at the bottom. So you got ha. Then you got wa. Wa looks like a slight 7, boom, and it comes down. That right there is wa. Then you got za. Za is like a line going from top to bottom with a little strike at the top. Not like how the T's are made, but just a little boom. Not a long strike at the top, just a short strike at the top. Next you got ka. Ka similar to ha. You see how it's written? Boom, boom. But except it connects from the left line right here. So remember, ha is written like this, and ka just has a connecting line from the left side. This one doesn't connect, which is ha, but ka does connect. Differentiates the whole letter. All right, moving on. Ta. Ta, if you look at it, it looks like a specific English U type, just with a little bit more, spirit on it. You know what I'm saying? Boom, bam. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be ta. Then you got ya. Ya is like a comma written in the air, not at the bottom like you will see a comma, but a comma in the air. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way I could describe it. It may look like a little 7 to everybody. If you want us to call it that, you can call it that. I call it like a little comma in the air. And that is how you get ya. Move forward. Ka. K-A. You got ka and you got ka. You see what I mean? You got ka and ka. Ka and ka. Don't get too confused with it. They sound the same, but this got the roll in it. Ka and ka. Ka. Hopefully everybody understands. Ka. Just say it again. So ka looks like a mirrored C. So boom, boom. You know how a C goes like this? In the Assyrian Hebrew is written like in a mirror image. Moving forward, we have La. La looks like a sophisticated question mark or something like that. You know what I'm saying? You got like a fancy little scribble at the top going down into like a question mark form. So instead of just going like this with the question mark, it's coming up and down. Boom. So it's like a sophisticated question mark without the dot at the bottom. If you could just describe it better and you could understand it and remember it better, definitely do it in your own way. So La is more like a sophisticated question mark. And that's La. Moving forward, Ma. Ma looks like a Q form. You know how you have the little Q form right there, or like you could even say like a cursive S. Like if anybody ever wrote in cursive, you have like a boom and then a strike at the top. This reminds me of a cursive S. If you want to go ahead and simplify it to a form of writing that we do personally on a daily basis. So it'll look like a boom, and it don't connect right here, right? And it don't connect right here. So boom, and a little strike at the top. Now what I gotta fill in, and I forgot it right here. Before I move on, sidebar. These right here are connecting letters that you write at the end of the word. So if this letter ka is at the end of a word, from right to left, like if ka was at the end of the word, this will substitute this. This 7 looking letter right here will substitute this at the end of a word. That's where these come from. So if a word at the end ends with ka, it'll end with that right there. If it's at the beginning of the word, it'll start with this. At beginning of the word, end of the word. Beginning of the end, beginning of the word, end of the word. 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 Hopefully everybody understands that. Moving forward. All right. I was on ma. So this looked like a cursive S. Boom. So also when it ends in ma, it'll look like this. You could just do like a circle, with like a little like drag to the side at the top left hand corner. So you just boom. As best as you could do it. You can see right here where it's written. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's like drawing a little apple with the little pin at the top. And that's how you can describe ma in a Assyrian alphabet being written. You have it this way to start the letter, to start the word. You got it like this to end the word. This is how it will be if you were handwritten. You know, a lot of people don't have good script or writing and stuff. They're kind of like shaky when they write. Boom. This will be like right here. And this one will be like this one right here. That's why I told everybody take a picture of it. That way, as you zoom in, as you're writing each and every single one of them, you can imagine how you can describe it, how you can describe that letter in a way you would remember. Because the way I remember is the way I remember. How that person over there, how they learn and how they differentiate, that's how they learn. It's the same alphabet. It's the same alphabet. Excuse me. It's the same alphabet. You could just identify the letter a little bit differently in your own way. With that being said, like I said, beginning of the word, end of the word. 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 And this is the same thing in written. And that's what I always want to go ahead and emphasize. Don't think there's 3 different type of writings or 3 different type of alphabets. Ancient, Assyrian. That's why we got printing right here. Printing in the ancient. We got printing in Assyrian. And we just got the same thing right here, the same alphabet right here, just in handwritten form, to where, you know, it really wasn't all perfect, but you could figure it out. With that being said, we're going to move to na. Na looks like a short C. In my eyes, it looks like a short C, or it could look like a short 7 with a little podium at the bottom. You know what I'm saying? However you want to describe it, you know, to remember it. That's how na will be written at the beginning of the word, and this is how na will be written at the end of a word. If it ever ends with na, this is how it will look. This looks like just a real anorexic 7. If you want to go ahead and, you know, if I could say it myself. Moving forward, we have Sa. Sa is, like I said, Sa is, some of the letters are going to look similar. You just got to go ahead and put it in a way that you can identify this the different letter. Because it kind of looks, this kind of looks like this. So Ma and Sa, the lower shape form, looks similar. So if you want to go ahead and box the Ma up, like make it into a little box, that might help you. If you want to put it in a circle form, that will help you for Sa. Boom. Because it looks similar, just different. You can put the Ma in a box form. You can put the Sa in a circular form. And then that's why I said take a picture, so that when you go ahead and look it over yourself, you'll see right here, it doesn't look as perfect. It looks like kind of a square oval type shape with the little notch at the top. And then when you got Sa, you see right here, it looks similar. You just got to put something in your script that you could identify that it's Ma, and where Sa is differentiated. They look similar, but they're different. So boom, it looks similar. I would say this one's like a box with the little strike at the top. This is a circle with a little strike going up if you want. So hopefully everybody took a picture of this, because it's slightly difficult, but you'll get it as time goes on. Moving forward, you got the I. So I is written like a Y. This is very important, because if you see right here, you're going to have something else that kind of looks like a Y. And remember, this is just the alphabet. We haven't even used these letters to incorporate a word yet. That's why I'm trying to emphasize the alphabet every single week. That way, it could be repetition. And now, oh man, that's ties to that. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like if I call it, you already know what it is. But right here, I looks like a Y, except it drops a lot further. If you see it, the connectings drop a lot further down to connect. It looks like a Y. You just go, it just drops a little further down. Boom. And that would be your I. Looks kind of like a Y, just a little bit more definition going further down. Now we got Pa. Pa, if you look at it in your eyes, it will look like a upside down G. You can say that. It looks like a G, upside down G. At the end of the word, it'll look like an upside down J. So this is where it gets a little tricky. That's why every time we start a class for the Hebrew Lashawan Qadash class on Fridays, we always want to emphasize the Hebrew letters first. You can't spell a word until you know the letters. You can identify letters that you know it starts with AH, BA, GA, DA. You know what I'm saying? Like ah, ha, ba, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ka, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, ta, za, kwa, ra, sha, ta. Once you identify all these letters in these forms, now, you know what I'm saying? Now the words start fitting together when I'm starting to put words on the board right here. But that's why we'll always go to this first, because everybody will definitely have trouble with an alphabet they're not familiar with or that they don't use on a daily basis. So where we left off with was Pa. Pa looks like an upside down G. That's just how I would describe it. How you would describe it, probably different. Please do it however you want to. Underneath, if a word ends with Pa, it will look like this. And I would just say it looks like an upside down J. Moving forward, Taza. Like I said, looks like a Y formation, similar to this, except you got I right here. They go straight down to the bottom and it curves this way. Now, if you look at Taza, it got a little bit more spirit on it. So you'll have the little. In fact, I'll just go down. How you say, like, go down right here. So you see how it's written right here. This is I. You see how it's written right here? It looks like a real deep Y. But then when you got Taza looks more like this. It will come straight to the side from the left all the way down to the right, and then it swoops to the left. And then you'll have that little Y form at the top. That's how you differentiate Taza from I. Each of these letters have a different spirit on it that you got to learn. So at the beginning of the word, it'll look like this. At the end of a word, if Taza's at the end of the word, it'll look like this. You see what I mean? This is how it's written printed, and this is how it's written if you wrote it yourself. It's from a top left-hand corner down to the right side. It's basically like a wide flip, boom. When it's this one, when it's the one that the letter that, and when Taza is at the end of a word, this is how it will look. Taza is at the beginning of the word, this is how it will look. Just don't get it confused with I right here, if you could. Moving forward, all right. You got, hold on. Moving forward, we got Qua. Qua looks like, see, this is why I like to use the handwritten right here, because you can easily identify it right here. Qua looks like an R. But then when you write an R, you come down and you strike it, but you never go all the way down. You just kind of like give it a little definition before you're going down, but you never really reach to the bottom right here, like a regular English R is. So boom, boom, boom. And that right there is Qua. Similar to an R, just before you're going down, cut it off. And that will right there be Qua. Right? Next, you got Ra. Ra just looks like a 7. That's why I said it looks, a whole bunch of things kind of look like 7. This is how it's looking in handwritten. You know what I'm saying? You got a little point at the top, coming down into like a 7 form. That's Ra. Ra printed, Ra handwritten. Next, you got Sha. Sha. Looks like a W. This is how it looked printed. This is how it looked handwritten. And this letter is Sha. Moving forward, you got Tha. Tha looks like an N. You know how you write? Like, yeah. Like how you say like a cursive N. Boom. So you just write it with a boom and a little strike right here, and you got to ditch it at when you come down on the left line, come down and you strike it to the side. So it's like this, boom, and a line coming around. It's kind of similar to this. It's kind of similar to Ka, except you'll bring that left line to the side. You'll see it similar. Boom, boom. Except instead of it going straight down, that little strike to the side makes the whole letter different than Ka. All right, so moving forward. Oh, and this right here, handwritten, you'll see it go from the left to right, down, then you bring the other line down, and you swoop it to the side. Now, we just went over the ancient and Assyrian Hebrew alphabet. Now we're going to go ahead and get into some words, so that way you can see how everything connects. Okay? So let me go ahead and move the camera to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and move the camera to the side. We're going to go ahead and get into some words. Where we left off last week. Where we left off on last week was a word. We left off on happy, I think. So we're going to move on from that. If everybody's following along, the only reason I'm doing the alphabet and then going to little words right here is so that way you can't write a sentence until you learn words. So if I'm going slow pace, it's because there's also men, women, and children who don't know this alphabet, let alone this language, let alone how to write a word. So I can't give you a sentence until we go over just basic words and how to do them in connect form. All right, let me go ahead and get this. All right, so excuse me. All right, so the first word we're gonna go over is hard. So, you know, when everybody was a kid, you did something wrong, your mother hit you hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, she worked the hell out of me. Got hit hard. So in English, I'm gonna write it. And I apologize if my writing ain't well, you know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to teach. My writing ain't great, you know what I'm saying? But just bear with me, you know what I'm saying? Hard. And how you pronounce it is quasha. Quasha. So it's qua. Oh yeah. Before I move forward, anytime you're writing something in Hebrew, you want to make sure every letter is written in capital form, if you could, because that's the only way to do it. Don't write it with a little a, no nothing like that. Write everything in a capital letter form. So like qua sha. Now, if I tell you that word is quasha, now you're gonna have to go to your. This is why I told you to take a picture of the alphabet, because if I tell you go ahead and break this letter down, this this word down, how would you do it? Remember, everything's written from right to left, right? So just because I sound it out this way from left to right doesn't mean it's gonna be written from left to right. It's gonna be written from right to left in the Hebrew. We're just sounding it out right now, right now. So with me going over it, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do it. So you'll have oh, see what I mean? Qua, qua. You know what I'm saying? Because it sounded out that whole letter. That's what I said. Like go over your screenshot. So qua is the entire letter. Qua. Then you got sha and ha. So how do you go ahead and connect these? I know I see a little glare right here on sha. This is the S right here. SHAH. So all right, cool. Let's do it like this. I always connect these, right? So you connect it like this. That's how you get it. Because you got qua, QA, QA. Then you got sha from the alphabet, SHA. You got SHA. But remember, if it's got the connector to the ha, you knock off the A, you got sha. Qua sha. Qua sha. That's why I said before I ever go into sentences, trust me, I'm just trying to go into words. That way you have them in your notes. And you could go from there in time. But right now, it's a little is a lot right now. Whether you're a man, woman, or a child, this is a lot for anybody just to learn just a word, let alone a sentence or a phrase or a breakdown. So the word hard in the ancient Hebrew is called quasha. How you write it in the ancient is from right to left, quasha. The next word is harlot. Harlot. You know, that's like a shameful word for a woman who's nasty. You know what I'm saying? That's a harlot right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a biblical shameful name for a woman who does a lot of wrong. So you want to go ahead and write that down in your notes. Harlot. And how you say harlot in the ancient Hebrew is all right. In the harlot in the ancient Hebrew is zawana. Now, if you have your Hebrew alphabet, how would you write this from left to right using the ancient Hebrew? I'll go ahead and write it. You guys go ahead and try to write it yourselves. Let's see if you're right. All right. All right. All right. That's how you spell it in the ancient Hebrew. Zawana, zawana. That's harlot. Za, za. Wa, wa. Na, and that's ha. Remember, since you got the connector right here, if you have this connector directly at the bottom, you sound out the whole letter of that word, the whole letter. But if you have a connector, the second one to the left, you sound out the right one, na. But this one right here, you always gonna knock off the last letter of that letter right there. So za, wa, na. Na, that's HA. You knock off the A, you got na. Na. Harlot is zawana. So I suggest every woman stay away from being a zawana. I don't think that's a good thing to be called right now. Moving forward, I'm gonna go into harvest. Everybody should know what the meaning of harvest means. Sometimes in your neighborhoods, you'll go to a harvest festival and they'll have like all type of fruits and vegetables, and you could purchase them there. So harvest. And how you will say harvest. Let me just put a little bit of line right here so that way nobody gets confused on what we're doing. That way I can differentiate the English word, how you pronounce it in the ancient Hebrew, and how it's written from left to right in the ancient Hebrew form. So harvest is quatazayar. Quatazayar. All right. Remember, everything's written in a capital form when you're taking these notes. I hope y'all understand my writing. My writing is, everybody's writing different. Mine is just my style, how I write. I hope everybody can understand how it's written. All right. I'm gonna write in the ancient. All right. Qua, Taza, is it Yama Yar? Oh, Salah, my fault. I made a little mistake, Salah. Apologize about that. All right. Qua, Taza, Yar. So this is how it's written. But you remember you got to put the connectors to sound out the word. So the first thing you want to do is you have qua, right? So that's the complete letter right there. Qua. You got taza. So you know that's complete. So you got taza. Then you got ya and ra. You see how it's connected? You knock off the A. If not, it would have been ya ra. You knock off the A, you got yar. So boom. Qua, taza, yar. Boom. Those two connect. Qua, taza, yar. And harvest right here is the word. In the ancient Hebrew, it sounds qua, taza, yar. And in ancient Hebrew, this is how it's written. Review your screenshot of the alphabet. I'll leave that up for a couple seconds. That way everybody go ahead and, document that in their own notes. I will never go to sentences until we at least get the understanding of words. I hope everybody gets this on the notes. Give it a couple more seconds because, just like I said, there's men, women, and children also watching. I have to be considerate towards everybody, not just one person. So just bear with the class. Shoot, my kids better be watching. Okay, I hope everybody got it. I'm about to take this off and go to the next three words because we're almost running out of time. I hope everybody got it. If not, try to go over this video, pause it, and definitely go over it in your own way on your own time. I just got to move forward because right after class, I got to go slave myself. And if there's anything you guys want me to review or go over, if you could, just always either let me know personally. You can find me on Facebook if you want. Zanyala on Facebook. AHZAN. Yaala. YAAHLA. And if you hit me up in the inbox and stuff or something like that, I could always review what you want me to go over, and I'll go ahead and put it into a class format. And if it's something simple, I could just easily go into it and continue going into what I was going to do for that class. All right, so we're going to go over 3 more H words because that's what we're going over, words with the letter H. So let's get into it. Last one we left off on was harvest. The next one, the word head. The thing on the top of your neck, head. All right. Head. Boom. Man, my writing's horrible. Chicago public school system. Boom. Yeah, it's a little better. All right. So head, right? That's how it'll be sounded in English. Now we got to go ahead and see how it's written in ancient Hebrew, right? So in ancient Hebrew, it's Ra'ash, right? So let's go ahead and get this. Ra. Ra'ash in the Hebrew. Now I'm going to write it in the ancient. All right. If you already figured out and you know how to write it, please do it on your own, and you'll basically go off what I wrote and see if you're correct. Okay. Boom, boom. All right. So head in English in ancient Hebrew is Ra'ash. And this is how it's written in the ancient Hebrew. So you got Ra, you have Ra. You got A and Sha. Remember. Hold on there. Whoa, this is a little different. Yeah, because you got to knock off the H for A, because you also got to take the A off. So you take off both ending letters of both letters. So you got Ash right here, right? So you take off it's usually an AH. Now you got to take off now you got to take off the H, and you got Sh. And the Sh usually has an A at the end too. So it's Ra-ash. Wow, that's one of the more difficult ones. So you got to remember this one and put this one in your notes. We got a brother in the school right now. His name is Ra-ash. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna have to talk to him about his name, because it's written a lot different, you know. But this is how it's written: Ra-ash. But with the A, you knock off the H. When you connect it to the Sha, you knock off the A for that too. So you got Ra-ash. Crazy. That's why I said before you could ever go into a sentence or something like that, we're always learning stuff with just plain words. So head in English is Ra'ash. This is how it's written. You knock off, you got the Ra, you got the A, you knock off the H. It's connected to the Sha. So it's A, Sha, without the A, Ra'ash. Crazy. The next word we're going to go over is hear or listen. Hear or listen. Hear or listen in the English. And how you will say it, how you pronounce it, is Shammai. All right. Shammai. All right. So hear and listen. In ancient Hebrew is pronounced Shammai. I'm going to write it right down right here, how it's written in the ancient Hebrew. All right. All right. You got Sha, Sha, S-H-A, looks like a W. Sha, Sha. Then you got the Ma, the Ma. You cancel the A on the Ma, and you connect it to the I. So just like I said, Ma, cancel the A, and then you just got the I. So it's Shammai. That's why I said before we go into sentences and scriptures and everything that I can break down for you guys, we're always learning just the correct pronunciation of just hear and listen, Shammai. Because it's difficult writing it, because Sha, and then you got the Ma, and then you with the this is my, but you got ma, M-A, you chop the A off and you just add the I, Shemai. So if you're ever telling your kids, Shemai, Shemai, it's like, listen up, listen, hear me out. Here, listen, pronounce Shemai in the ancient Hebrew, written in the ancient Hebrew is Shemai. Last one we're going to go over for this week, and we'll proceed next week on Friday. This week, the last word is heart. A lot of times, people think about heart as your vessel in the chest. That's one way of thinking about your heart. Heart in the Bible always means your mind, and your heart is always in your head. So, heart, whether it be one in your chest or in your heart, in your head, in your mind. So, how we're going to pronounce that one is love. All right. All right. Love. That's how you say heart. It's heart in English. In ancient Hebrew, it sounds like lab. And I'm going to show you how to write it right here. All right. Connector. So you got the la, you got the la, and you got the ba, you got the ba. Chop that A off because it's a connected word, and you got lab. It's not lab like in English, it's lab. So heart in ancient Hebrew sounds like lab. It's written from right to left like this, la, and the ba, or since you got a connector, is lab. All right. With that being said, that's my time, Israel. I thank you for tuning in today to the Isupk Lashawan Qadash class in Chicago. I'm Precinct Officer of 500, Azanyala. Next week, we'll be going over some more letters with the letter H. We will also go over the alphabet again. And before I go, I want to hopefully I can see every so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native at the Passover in Atlanta, Georgia next week. We have a fun-filled itinerary, and the Lord told us to come together for this event, this Passover. So there's the Lord's 56th annual Passover. You know, just come out and just build with your own brothers and sisters. You know, it's $200 fee for anybody 18 and up. Just go to isupk.com, pay your Passover fee, and we got 5 days of events, a fun-filled of days of just enjoyment amongst Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives. If you really want to go ahead and build with your community, with your people, and do the right thing, definitely show up in Atlanta, Georgia. With that, I'm Precinct Officer of 500 Zanyala. I want to say shalom to everybody.